Welcome back, minions. In today's episode, our travelers are still weeks away from their destination. But that's not to say there isn't adventure to be had. A classic monster, a new game mechanic is introduced to the campaign, and friends made along the way. The Advanced Dungeons & Dragons review caps continue. As always, the action is recreated using the Order of the Stick Monster for Every Season cutout minis. The players: Grant as Rotkill, neutral good dwarven fighter, level 8. Claude as Dub, neutral good dwarven thief, level 8. Les as Bovel, neutral good human magic user, level 7. Ron as Valletta, chaotic good human cleric of Tymora, level 7. Dave as Daryl, lawful good human paladin of Lathander, level 6. Sean as Octavius, chaotic good human ranger, level 6. And one henchman, Larian, chaotic good human cleric of Tymora, level 4. It has been a journey lasting 21 days since they left Fort Meridian, skirting the border of the Great Anauroch Desert. The team is approaching a desolate area of land known as the Battle of Bones. The terrain is rocky and barren, with little in the way of life or vegetation. An unnatural haze rests over this land. During the day, the heat rises to scorching, hellish levels, but during the night, even Arctic regions seem balmy in comparison. None of the characters knows anything about the Battle of Bones, save for vague rumors of the undead. They pause upon seeing the terrain and rethink their intent. Originally, they meant to cut through this region and head as the crow flies to the Marsh of Chalimber, but upon seeing the vast expanse of the region, they decide instead to skirt southwest to find any settlement where they might reprovision and take a less ominous route. They wisely put the Battle of Bones behind them, and soon find themselves in less hostile terrain. During the night watch, Bovel and Rotkill hear deep, harsh voices in the dark calling to them. Multilingual Bovel recognizes the speech as Ogrish. They're begging for mercy and pleading for the group not to attack. Rotkill wakes the rest while Bovel converses. 4 badly wounded ogres pleading for safe harbor. Wary, the team offers mercy to this group, who immediately plunk their own meager kit down and start a fire. Close enough to see each other, but still far enough for comfort. Valletta offers curative magic on one of the ogres and tells them to decide on whom. The leader, without consulting his fellows, declares that the others insist on him. Valletta casts a Cure Light Wounds, alleviating some injury. He uses the opportunity to examine the ogre's wounds, finding a mix of blade damage as well as puncture marks from bites. He assesses these to be snake bites from a very large snake. The ogre returns to his fellows, smacks one, grabs a leather sack from him and returns, tossing a bag of coin at Valletta. The ogre tells the team that their entire tribe was ambushed by snake people, powerful creatures who annihilated all but these 4. Sorcerers and monsters. There were 3 of them, and they had a human prisoner in a wagon. This gets the attention of these goody-goods. While they were being merciful to these ogres, they also didn't care that the tribe had been killed and were already planning to just continue on. But word that a human had been taken sparked immediate talk of rescue. Discussing the possible nature of these snake creatures, a few theories are posited, with Dub suggesting that it might be a creature called a Yuan Tai. I'm sure he meant Yuan-Ti minions. That must be a dwarven dialect. Without more info, however, it's all just guesswork. Regardless, they decide that in the morning they will follow the ogre's trail back to the ambush site and go from there. If they can indeed rescue a captive from a horrid fate, they will try. The next day, the team packs up and leaves the ogres, who carry on their own way. With Octavius's master tracking skill, it's not a difficult task to trace the 4 ogres' trail. They do indeed find a site of a massacre. Almost 24 dead ogres rotting in the field. Octavius easily locates the trail of a horse and wagon leading away from the scene, and the team follows. He also notices 3 sets of humanoid tracks following the wagon. The team eventually catches up to a trio of people. 2 humans and an elf. They see them in the distance. Daryl and Rotkill ride forward, with Bovel tethered to Daryl's horse while levitating, pulled along like a balloon. They eventually catch up and call out to the 3 people. Here the group makes the acquaintance of a druid named Carl, an elf named Taran, and a human tribal warrior named Gunnar. They engage in conversation, learning that the trio is hunting 3 creatures called 1T who have kidnapped a friend of theirs and are taking her to the Battle of Bones, though they know not why. Carl tells them about the 1T, a race of abominations, humans who have sold themselves to dark powers to become snake-like creatures, as vile and unnatural as the undead in his view. It doesn't take long for these 2 groups to agree to team up to rescue the young lady, though Gunnar immediately confronts Bovel about his use of magic. He tells Bovel that any man who dabbles in such arts is tempting fate, as these are dark powers that mankind was not meant to know. He tells Bovel to keep away from him and stay on his side of the camp. After traveling together for the rest of the day, the company sets up camp and arranges watches, making sure to keep Bovel and Gunnar apart. Conversation around the campfire turns to the group and their destination at the Marsh of Chalimber. Carl suggests to them that they seek out the county of Aor, as the Lord of Aor is an honorable man and a capable ruler. He has no doubt that the group will find welcome in his court. When Darrow mentions that they are seeking the lost tomb of Sakatha, Carl informs them that they are wasting their time, as the tomb sunk into the marsh hundreds of years ago. Sakatha the Lizard King was defeated by Count Aor's ancestor, and the followers of the Lizard King entombed him and sunk the temple to prevent grave robbers and treasure hunters from looting his hoard. Even if they could somehow find the tomb, they must still traverse the marsh, which is exceedingly dangerous. The conversation turns to the Battle of Bones and its history. The site of a massive war between humanoid races, goblins, orcs, etc. Dark magics blighted the land and many beings were killed. Nothing lives there now save the undead, if you can call that living. I do, minions. It's a grand old time. Why the 1T are heading there and their purpose for their captive is anyone's guess, but it can't be good. In an epic display of player impatience, Claude suggests that if they go to sleep now, they can wake up sooner and get to the action, thus cutting this roleplay session short and ignoring the obvious source of information for their upcoming adventure. Everyone then retires for the night, and in the morning they resume the hunt for the 1T. Between the Ranger and Barbarian, the team easily tracks the slow-moving 1T wagon. Gunnar is very impressed by Octavius' ability to read and understand the trail. Octavius notes an oddity in the gait of the horses drawing the wagon. No variation in movement, no spurts of speed. This leads them to suspect the horses may be animated dead or phantom steeds. Scouting ahead and from his vantage, Octavius makes out one driver that looks entirely human, and on the roof of a large caged wagon are a creature with the lower half of a snake, the upper half of a human, while the third looks entirely snake-like. They make a plan of attack. Octavius, Turan, Gunnar sneak ahead for a blindside flank attack, while Dub rushes forward, just trailing Octavius. Valletta casts a silence spell on a rock which Darrow will carry as he charges with his horse, the silence giving him a chance at surprise. Larian blesses all but the advance guard, who have already departed to get into place. Then Valletta casts prayer. They launch. Surprise is rolled for the 1T, and because there are multiple prongs to the attack, the DM rolls for each group. Gunnar and Turan score 1 segment of surprise, Octavius scores 3, while the rest of the group score 1. Octavius rushes forth, striking up with his sword, hitting several times against the massive, full-snake 1T. Gunnar rushes in at the hybrid man-snake, but misses his attack. The others run forward. Dub rushes in and scrambles under the wagon to hide and seek a good opportunity for another surprise attack. Darrow charges in on his warhorse, attempting to strike with his lance, but he misses and rides by. He draws his sword and prepares to circle back to engage. The human-like 1T driving the wagon stops and turns to face the attackers. He stares down at Octavius, concentrating, generating some innate effect against the Ranger. A save is called for and Octavius fails. The magic overtakes him and he finds himself transformed into a harmless squirrel. His identity is starting to slip, and the DM rules that the necessary rolls to keep his mind from becoming that of a squirrel will start immediately post-battle. Rotkill and the others use the round to close in. The 1T hybrid scores a nasty hit of 10 damage with a two-handed sword against Gunnar. Sean takes over control of the barbarian Gunnar since Octavius is out of commission. A new round begins. The 1T win initiative. The 1T snake abomination attempts to use mental powers to dominate Rotkill, but the dwarf makes his save and shakes off the psionic attack. Oof, that was lucky. A dominated Rotkill battling his own friends would have been bad news for this group. The hybrid scores another brutal 10 damage on the barbarian. The humanoid 1T transforms his very hands into blades with some strange ability. The fight rages on, and Rotkill slams the humanoid with powerful hits. Dub climbs out from under the wagon and gets a backstab in against the distracted humanoid who's focused on Rotkill, but the unlucky dwarf rolls a 1 for damage. The druid Carl calls to the group to get the creatures off the wagon and onto the grass. Valletta, having seen Octavius's fate, blankets the area with a casting of Dispel Magic. This provides a base 50% chance to dispel, modified by 5% for each level of the caster versus the level of the magic being dispelled. A nice low roll of 18% successfully dispels the polymorph, restoring the ranger. Rolls are made to see if the spell also renders the group's potions inert, but the magic holds. Octavius succeeds in his system shock roll from the polymorph and survives the transformation. Bavel attempts to charm person on the humanoid 1T, but it resists the magic. Failing that, he kicks it old school and starts a barrage of magic missiles. The 1T magic resistance of 20% is increased to 40% against Bavel, as Bavel is level 7. The 1T absorbs part of the magic missile, but the spell still beats some of the magic resistance and strikes for some damage. Gunnar takes another blow of 5 damage and keeps on fighting. 25 damage to a second level character and he's still fighting? What is this, 5th edition minions? Yeesh. Blows take out the abomination and the humanoid, leaving the hybrid. Daryl leaps off of his horse on top of the wagon. Rotkill climbs up. Octavius and Gunnar continue to strike up from the ground. The 1T attempts to dominate Daryl, which Daryl resists. And then polymorph Rotkill, but the dwarves' heavy ability to resist magic shakes it off. Surrounded and outgunned, the final 1T falls to their blows. They rescue the girl from the cage, and Gunnar honors them by complimenting their battle prowess, and tells them they certainly have a place of honor at the table in the longhouse of his clan. The young woman does not know why the 1T are taking her to the Battle of Bones, but is grateful for the rescue. The 1T horses are indeed revealed to be zombified horses, though they simply remained stationary during the attack and did nothing else. Valletta calls upon the divine grace of Tymora and disintegrates them with his ability to turn the undead. The troop makes their way to a small outpost at the edge of the North Dark Wood called Drawn Swords, where they can reprovision. They bid goodbye to their new acquaintances and begin the final leg of their 2-month journey to the Marsh of Chalimber. The session concludes there. And the journey goes ever on, minions. A neat little side event the DM threw in to offer up some hints at things to come. Some NPCs to serve up lore and info, as well as a classic monster, and our first taste of psionics. Given their proximity to Najara, a 1T stronghold in the Forgotten Realms, the DM decided it would be fun to have an encounter with them, so this little scenario was devised. The 3 NPCs were actually a last-minute addition, as a guest player almost joined in for the session and a selection of characters was necessary. So the DM rolled up a barbarian, a druid, and an elven thief as options. The guest wasn't able to make it after all, but why waste some good NPCs? It became a perfect vehicle for lore and information, as NPCs tend to be. The 1T are a fun monster, and with their appearance we have officially introduced psionics into this campaign. This is something new for this DM, as psionics are an element he's always felt belonged to other genres. But with the delve into Night Below, where mind flayers and other psionic creatures abound, it was decided a while back to phase psionics into the game. So players have been secretly rolling to see if they are psionic. So far no one has scored that double-edged sword, but anything's possible. The DM is implementing them by the book here, with one small exception. The chance to attain psionics isn't limited to character generation. Rather, any potential psionic, that being a character with a 16 or higher in intelligence, wisdom, and or charisma, will roll again up to 1 time per level of experience if they are subjected to a psionic effect. The logic being the effect may trigger their own latent ability. The battle with the 1T was another one of those confidence builders where the players dominated quite nicely. But as Aesop said, pride shall have its fall. Early victories like this are delicious, as they really set the stage for the comparison to those enemies that cause the players problems. With a fortnight between sessions, the beginning of the next will see the players arriving at their destination, and will be in the module proper. Join us for the next episode, minions, where we finally begin Module I-2, the Tomb of the Lizard King. This one is meant for character levels 4 to 7, so this group averages right in the sweet spot. I'm eager to see how they interact with it. There's political intrigue, a dangerous swamp, and a lurking menace. This promises to be a good one. I can't wait. Stay tuned for my summons, minions, and as always, ta for now.